Hey there, and welcome to the Tim Voxelbaum Show. It's gonna be a good time. My name is Tim Voxelbaum. It is episode 98 of the program. Why am I such a chipper mood today? Well, because I'm doing this accent. And when you're doing this accent, you can't really sound like a sourpuss. You could be doing anything in this accent, and you're gonna sound a little bit joyful while you're doing it, you know? You can't be in the DMV talking like this and not be a little bit giddy up, a little bit in a happy mood. You go up to the counter, ding dong, you press the bell, even though it's not your tone and there's no bells anymore, because they don't work that way. It's not how it works. There's no bells. That's not how it works at the DMV. There's a little digital screen that says number now serving this number at this booth, at this kiosk. They call them kiosks or booths or stations. They use one of those terminologies. Now I'm doing a New Yorker. Now I'm in New York, now I'm Joe Pesci all of a sudden. Either I go back from Joe Pesci, neutral suburban child, in redneck. It's the spectrum. That's the whole spectrum. It's redneck. Hey, up a dealy-dee. I'm at the DMV. Oh, it's my name. I'm at Station B to get my ID picture taken. Or it shifts subconsciously, you know, without me trying, to City Slicker Joe Pesci from My Cousin Vinny, if you want to get specific. That movie is all you need to see to know where I got the accent. Okay? So now that we got that out of the way, that's why I sounded happy, is because I was doing an accent that you have to sound happy to do effectively. You know, you could be angry as a redneck. You could do that. I could do that. I have range as an actor. We talked about this on the last episode, that was a very short episode because there's a practical purpose to it. I was doing it to warm up for a more cordial podcast that involved other people showing up to some place and they had to drive. They had to drive, you know. Two other people had to get into their cars. Besides me, I don't count. I don't have a life, so I don't count. I'm not on the clock. These guys had to go on the clock, drive to this place. So that's why it was a thing that I wanted to be more warmed up for. So that's why I did that one. This is going to be a real episode, so I have time to really get y'all up to date on what's been going on, y'all, in the world. Not just my life. My life is not the whole world. There's billions of people, just so many people to talk about, and we're not going to, we don't got time. But my life is so multifaceted that if I talk about my life, that's good enough that covers a lot of people. Because I'm very relatable. All my problems other people can relate to, and the ones, or at least if there's somebody out there that's rich enough to relate to my problems too. Poor people, they don't relate to me. Not because they're poor, at least. Like I don't relate to poverty. I don't relate to them. It's mutual, but it's not that we would not be related on some other idea. It's just with money, if we're only talking economics, if that's the differences between us that we're using as buckets to, if that's the label, they won't find this relatable, but that's only because we called them poor people. We don't have to call them that. We could just call them something else that is relevant maybe, but yes, if we're talking about that subject matter, they will be like, well, I would just like to have my basic needs met. That would be relatable to them. I got that covered. I got my basic needs met. This is for people that have rich people, that have white, whatever you want to call it. Is that a thing? Did people call it? I know that there's first world problems, but then white people problems. That's the more dismissive even than first world kind of. I don't know. White people problems is the most dismissive way to call it. But that's racist, because more than just white people can have this problem. I mean, it's rare. I'm not saying that the world is perfectly equal all around and every single it's perfectly distributed. No. But it's, so yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's mostly white people that have this. But there are some athletes, there's some very successful athletes and musicians and other communities that do have this problem, that have money, that have mo money, mo problems. See, it came from that. It came from it came from ghetto culture, mo money, mo problem. I don't talk like that. I don't say mo instead of more. So that came from ghetto culture or whatever. Impoverished inner city culture even was the one that came up with that concept. So it's not a white person problem. You're an idiot, actually, if you think it, it's racist to say it is, because in fact, the phrase came from Ice Cube or whoever the hell, whoever the hell said that. It was, I believe, forgot the dude's name, not LL Cool J, but one of those 90s rappers that thinks they're still good, that is still living off of what they did in the 90s. I can't think of the dude's name. He has like dreads now. I think that is who it is. The dude with dreads now that thinks he's Basquiat. He thinks he's Basquiat. He thinks he's another black guy just because they all think they are related. I understand, because I'm Jewish, so I'm not even saying it as a judgmental thing. I'm the same way with that every Jew, for the most part. Like if I see a Jew doing something that only Jews do, that Jews are known to be good at, like Jerry Seinfeld, he'll say something that I will relate to because of that, because of the genetics and all that. Who cares? So anyway, these guys, they think they're still relevant. I forgot the dude's name. Something with an N or something. Something with an N. I don't know. He has dreads now, and he's rich he's like a billionaire. And it doesn't matter what his name is because he hasn't done anything recently. And then that other guy, not LL Cool J, he's not even acting as if he's relevant. He's not even in the public eye at all. He's respected because he lives on an island, and that's if you actually cared enough to look into nobody cares what he's up to, unfortunately. So Puff Daddy is the one I'm thinking of that is still in the public eye. Not relevant, and he's not but he's like the other 90s one. He's like the other 90s one with the Mo Money, Mo Problems song that I can't think of his name. But he's like him. He also had a couple really big songs in the 90s that sampled other people's, he was really good at sampling and like putting it to more talented rappers' raps. He just connected two really good band, like he just took two artists and just created a mashup, whatever. It didn't take much. It was not that hard to do what Puff Daddy probably did his whole career to become who he was. He took other people's stuff, put it together nicely. Okay, so he's not relevant, but he still is relevant because he's getting canceled. That makes you relevant, I guess. He wasn't relevant, but it doesn't matter because he had power still. He had a lot of power from the 90s, and the nostalgia makes it powerful. Even though you're not relevant, it doesn't matter. Nostalgia is relevant. So, why did I bring him up? Because Mo Money, Mo Problems. Doesn't matter who said it. He's also got this he will relate to this podcast. Puff Daddy. He'd be like, oh, well, this guy understands what it's like. He understands my problems. I don't understand his problems particular. Just I understand in a lofty, in a very low res, in a simple way. I get what it's like to have been at the pinnacle of fame and relevance 30 years ago, and now you still have consolidated stock in nostalgia and blah blah. And now these 30 or 5-year-olds, 40, whatever, however old his fan base is now, they still like him. To be honest, they're in their mid-30s. Some of them are trying to probably go along with the cancellation, but most of those people probably don't give a fuck, because I'm one of them. I enjoyed his mashups of other people's music in the 90s. He had some really good mashups. He put some really good songs together that created a different song, kind of. It did create a different song, for sure. He produced a new song. He wasn't the artist, he was the producer. So there's some credence in that. There's plenty of credence in being a producer. So anyway, I don't know why I'm going on about that. He had some talent. So I don't know why I'm trying to say he doesn't have talent. He has talent. Doesn't matter. It matters that people, if you're just somebody that has this consolidated like stock, it came from fame, and now it's just money, and people know you, so you still fame, but you're not doing anything enough to not get it taken away from you. It's like a power. It's just like, I use the word consolidated because I feel like that's the word for like when power becomes too concentrated towards one entity. Just the laws of physics make it so it gets even more powerful until it turns into a black hole, and then it just stays that way forever until it dissolves, which is very anticlimactic. I don't know, but that's what happens. Power just accumulates more power until anything that's nearby gets sucked in, or it's just far away enough that it's okay. So we're trying to cancel black holes by not getting sucked into it, because if we were close to Puff Daddy, nothing would happen to him. We're too close to do anything. We would get sucked into his world. We like, that's how it works with fame in power, not fame. You don't have to be famous to have power. Powerful people are far removed from the general public, so the closer you get to them, you probably had to suck a lot of dicks to get to that person. You have to start sucking dicks more and more, harder and harder to suck dicks. And then, I'm being figuratively, obviously I'm being metaphorical. You're gonna have to please a lot of people to get close to these people that you want to take down. So that's a lot of work. It's a lot of manipulation. And then finally, when you're finally in his circle, you're going to be like, well, at this point, I kind of like the guy. I've gotten to know him. No, it's actually, you don't really get that. You don't get whatever it's called, syndrome, Stockholm. You don't get some Swedish disease for joining Puff Daddy's circle. You get a glimpse of what it's like to be him, and you get resentful. And then you learn how to do it yourself. I don't know. You just see through the bullshit of what power is. You see that it's a hierarchy, and that there's nothing really special about the dude on the top. It's just that's the way it is. So yeah, there's going to be people that you got to climb up to get to the guy. That's what power is. It's a force field, and it's a totem pole. And so you can't just cancel. You can't just like Puff Daddy. Yeah, that's why he's hard to cancel, because he accumulated enough power to where it's now a fortress. There's people that you got to get to even get his email address, let alone his phone number or whatever. So if you want to take that away from the guy, you got to use the internet. The internet is this new fangled invention that came about from Silicon Valley, or the military originally, but then a bunch of nerds ran with the idea, and now look what we have. Now we have Puff Daddy, who was just minding his own business, just being a powerful person, which nobody had a problem with until we learned that, well, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a thing that's wrong with it, other than that people are jealous of that. I don't like that. I don't like that one person has more power than it. But look at England. Look at England. That's a country that has a king. And so everybody in that country just agrees that, yeah, he's the king. He's better than you. That's how it is. We go along with it. Yeah, it's stupid. A lot of people will admit that it's stupid. They're like, so why is this old guy with weird looking teeth, like he looks like a rat, he looks very inbred, what has he done to where he's the king? Like, why is he the... Well, because that's the way it is. It's all about... because he inherited it. That's the way it is. That's how that's what power is. It's a fortress that is... the more you have, the harder it is to lose, and it passes down to generations, because of course... well, we're just going to give it away to somebody that's not from my vagina. So, you know, so what is Puff Daddy doing that is so much worse than the King of Britain? The King of Britain probably has also blown up people's cars. You just don't hear about it because they couldn't, like, I mean, it's not like you wouldn't, I mean, there's press, I guess, in England. It's not like a fascist country where they don't allow free press. But China has an emperor. They've always had an emperor going back to when it was even before Chinese food existed, emperors of China existed. Which does like it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. I mean that you couldn't go to a Chinese restaurant until many centuries after they already had emperors running their country. So if you don't like Chinese food, I mean, if you don't like emperors, but you like Chinese food, you got a problem. Because we wouldn't have the Chinese food without the emperors. I mean, okay, maybe you could argue that, no, it would be just as good if they had a democracy. If everybody was just equal, there was no power hierarchy, the food would actually be just as good. The feudal system would be just... we don't need a feudal system. The rice paddies would have been just as good under communism, you know, or whatever. There's still an emperor. Even with communism, they still have an emperor. So they can censor whatever the hell they want in China. So in China, the emperor, of course, is doing way worse than Puff Daddy. And how many hit songs has he put together? I don't know. I'm not going to act like I know the answer to this, but let's just assume it's a few less than Puff Daddy. And how many cars has the Emperor of China blown up? Well, I would hope at least a couple more than Puff Daddy. If you're the Emperor of China, if you have that much power at your disposal, you could do it for fun. You could blow up literally somebody's car that you don't even have an issue with, you know? You just want to do it for fun. You just like the feeling of watching something beautiful be destructed. You could do that if you're the Emperor of China. Puff Daddy didn't even do that. He actually had a somewhat understandable reason, I think. You know, like at least I could put my head into Puff Daddy's head. You know, I could put myself into his shoes and be like, yeah, if I was jealous of some guy fucking my girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, whatever, if I was jealous of some dude for fucking my girl, I would blow up his car at the very least. It's the nicest thing I could think to do, is blow up his car without him in it. The Emperor of China could do it with like, geez, they could blow up a bridge. The Emperor of China could do terrorism and still be the emperor. So I don't care about what you think about really Puff Daddy if you're not going to mention, because, you know, what's so special about domestic? Why do we care only about power in America? What's so special about America that we care about it only in this arbitrary latitude and longitude? Like this, okay, so we move latitude. So we're on the Earth, right? So morals, apparently your moral compass is very dependent on latitude. Not sure about longitude, you know. I don't know if they care about north and south. Like if you go to South America, if you go to Chile, and you see people whacking whales or whatever the hell they do down there, they don't, you know, you see like an emperor of Chile mowing people down, blowing up cars, not producing hit songs. on top of it to make it even eviler than Puff Daddy. What would they do then? Would their moral compass accommodate that longitude, or would it just accommodate the latitude? Well, it doesn't do latitude, so we already know that. It's broken. The liberal mind, and I'm just talking about liberals, I guess. I don't know. I'm just assuming only liberals care about Puff Daddy. I don't know. Because Republicans just see him as another black guy that happens to be a successful rapper. They don't care. They just put him in a box of like, as long as he doesn't live in my neighborhood, I don't care if he's blowing up other black people's car. That's how Republicans look at it. Liberals are, the ones that are pro-cancel culture are the ones that go, their moral compass, it doesn't move. It's stuck. It's only stuck in this part of the hemisphere. If you go a little bit east, you got to jump over a lot of countries. You got to ignore Africa. Ignore Africa. Just blind spot. Get over all the European countries and then get to China. Now you see that we have things a lot more aggressive than Puff Daddy, a lot more cars being blown up, I presume, in all these other countries. China, I'm picking on a lot. Forget China. I have nothing against China. It's just a lot. It's just a big one. It's just easy to pick on because they're humongous. There's all these Arab countries that also have powerful people, and nobody cares. There's trillionaire. Literally, there's a trillionaire family that only has like 4 people in the fucking family, and nobody cares. I care because I think it's freaking awesome that you can just hang out, that there's a dude like my age with $1 trillion. Just not only blowing up cars, he could blow up a whole factory of a new Tesla gigafactory that was just built. Like Elon Musk is literally cutting the ribbon, and then one of these guys wearing one of those white hat, whatever you call those the white hood things, would just come rolling in. It'd be like, I have so much money that all this work and design and engineering that went into this, I could just undo it, and Elon, you'd be fine with it because I'm giving you twice as much as you paid. Elon only cares about money too. So like, Elon doesn't want to save the world. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in his backyard right now. Oh, he literally owns this whole area around. Oh, sorry, Elon Musk. I know that I'm on your property right now, and I could see your office for my house. Well, I'm really doxing myself. Okay, so we were talking about a lot of things here. Let's get back to basics. We're talking about Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy ain't got nothing. Actually, fuck Puff Daddy. I stumbled upon a way more interesting person than just Puff. Yeah, let's just go back to Puff Daddy. The dude, yeah, never mind the trillionaire Saudis that are just a divorced dude. I think it's a dad, it's a son, and maybe, I don't know what happened to the mother. I think the wife, maybe it doesn't matter because she's just the wife, so she's not really considered part of the family. She is. Obviously, they have wives. Okay. It's a very different culture. And I'm not even judging the culture. I'm pointing out how cool it is, quite honestly, that all you have to do to get away scot-free with being a trillionaire and not getting any guilt or blame or shame from the liberals that are doing it, even with Taylor Swift, who they like, I thought. Doesn't matter. She's now become too rich. She's now become a billionaire. They hate billionaires more than they like even Taylor Swift. That's crazy. I didn't think you could hate billionaires more than you could love what you are. You like Taylor Swift. Like they have nothing else to define what they like. What do they like? What is a positive thing that they even have if they don't have that? If they don't even have Taylor Swift, some some hack musician that's just good at promoting herself. You know, if they don't even have that, okay. I don't have anything against Taylor Swift, but I'm just saying she's not that magical, even in and of her. I guess that is why maybe they dispose of her so quickly, because she's not that talented. She's just good at promoting she's good at doing the job of being a recording, being a pop star, but musically it's like shopping mall music. It's like background music to it. She has a couple good songs. So anyway, these liberals are willing to dispose of her even. So that's why I'm pointing out that, well, you know, there's somebody that you could skip over her. There's somebody doing something a lot more egregious with their money to the environment. They own a whole company that all the company does is pull oil out of the ground and then process it, which causes pollution, and then they sell it to other people who burn it, which causes pollution. In fact, even to people that fly private airplanes even buy from these guys. Even Taylor Swift, the guy that's responsible for selling and producing the fuel is a trillionaire. Doesn't live in America, though. I am sorry to say he's also not of Caucasian descent. I'm sorry to say. He is, in fact, even worse. I hate to say this, so this is why you can't use him as an example of somebody to attack. He is, in fact, he's a Muslim. So, case closed. He's a protected minority group. I mean, of course, we know Muslims are they're so few and far between in this world. There's only 50,000 of them in the whole world. They're a protected class of citizenry of the world. Never mind what country they happen to live in. If they're in America, we gotta treat them as second-class citizens because that's how the world treats them. So we gotta put them on a pedestal because we're guilty, because we feel that they don't deserve to be treated that way. So we have to work extra hard to not offend them. Because they're brown. They have different color. Come on, they're minorities, man. You can't say anything bad about minorities. So, Taylor Swift, fuck her. She's a majority white, entitled, fuck billionaires. Trillionaires are okay because they practice a different religion, and that's very insensitive of you to judge them for their culture. If their culture involves owning an entire country and every citizen of that country is an employee, and your dad is the CEO of the country, and you're the dude in your mid-30s who just is the heir of the whole entire country that's worth country, same thing. Saudi Arabia, Saudi Aramco is the same entity, just one's a place and one's the company that owns the place, so it's the same fucking thing. The reason we can't attack that is because he's not white. I mean, there's some billionaires that are not white. There's other billionaires that are not white, but that's racist. You can't attack Carlos Slim. He's not white. He looks white. He passes as white. He has Caucasian genetics that, in fact, technically make him white as much as any other white person that's ever existed. But he's Mexican. So that's another race. That's racist if you make fun of... If you say anything bad about Mexican. So anyway, okay, I don't fucking know. I just know that liberals hate billionaires right now. And young people, I don't like the word liberal because it's very vague, but young people right now in America, only in America, hate billionaires more than they like Taylor Swift. So why don't they complain about the Asian billionaires and the Saudi billionaires? They only seem to want to go after the the white ones, the ones that look like their dads. So it's like maybe they're just confused. Like it makes like I'm confused, but maybe the answer is that they just didn't. They're just not very deep people. Like they're not putting the work in to actually decide if they actually hate Billion. Maybe they just hate their dad. And you can even break that. You can even say they don't even hate their dad. They just had a difficult relationship with their dad growing up. And, he was a authority figure, and they had a difficult time growing up with this guy. So they resent him, and any authority figure that happens to have white skin but is not Mexican, he has to be from this, white. Jeff Bezos is white. That is who they hate. They hate him because he looks like a dad. Elon Musk looks like a fucking dad. And that's not good for his image, because a lot of people these days hate their dads. And a lot of women, young women, are being taught to hate men in general too. And that just makes things so... It makes their hate impersonal, and that makes it easy to disregard, because it's just so impersonal that it's like obviously misdirected hate. You can't just hate all men. That's too inconvenient. That's very inconvenient to live your life hating all men. So we know that that's pointless to have that be your identity. It just turns people away from you. But anyway, it's very popular to do. And I was thinking about it. It's like, but it doesn't hurt me. Like, is that what they're trying to do by announcing it? Or because it doesn't hurt me that you hate men. It just makes me go like, okay. So that'll explain your behavior. If like it just makes you easy to predict. I don't know. Don't tell people. It's not good to hate somebody because you're easy to predict. I don't know. I don't fucking know, man. You just avoid those people, man. It's like, okay, I was just thinking about it earlier because something happened years ago in the comedy scene in Chicago where there's this place that wasn't known to be nice to male comics, and they were known for that. And I got thrown out of the place for simply going there. And they didn't like me. I don't know, it was because I insulted them or something. And okay, fair enough. But it didn't hurt my feelings that they kicked me out of this place because it was impersonal. It wasn't anything that I particularly... They don't know me enough to even know that I wasn't even saying anything as an insult. I was just joking, and I just wanted to get out of the conversation. It wasn't like me, I was actually like angrily insulting. I was just kind of like fucking with them, but they took it as like an insult and like, okay, you're no longer welcome here. It's like, okay. And it happened so quickly without me having any chance to explain myself, but it didn't fucking matter because like they're known for hating men. Like, so you're gonna take it personally? Not really. If they have a reputation for just hating all men, I'm supposed to take that person. Okay. So I didn't take it personally, and it's kind of funny to be kicked out because I don't get kicked out of very many places. I don't really misbehave that much. Even when I was drinking, I didn't really get kicked out of that many places. Maybe once when I was just trying to. It's not that hard if you're trying to and you're drunk. But anyway, I don't really misbehave. So it's just funny when people just redirect their resentment towards towards just, I don't know, it's just like easy to do that, and it's easy to be the target, not the victim. I don't know, I didn't lose it. It's not like, but people are being victimized. I'm not a victim. I shelter myself from hate. I avoid people that hate people. It puts you in a adversarial position in the world to just announce that you hate white people or whatever, hate men or hate white men. It's all the same shit. It puts you in an adversarial position, and it's kind of like hard to. I mean, obviously, it's kind of the whole. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Where somebody hypocritical. It's hypocritical to hate something, and also to say that you're to. The whole thing is that you're virtuous, right? The whole virtue of being a liberal, I thought, was because it's more virtuous. Like, it's more that the policies that we're choosing are based on merit and fairness and morality. But that the morality, it's very hypocritical because the moral compass is rusty. It doesn't move. Like, it changes. I don't know. Compasses are supposed to always kind of be the same. Like, they're always supposed to point absolutely this direction. But the moral compass of liberals these days, and I know I'm sounding repetitive, it's not absolute. It's relative. It's like, okay, no, in this country we care about it, but in that country it's okay because they're brown. And when you put it that way, it sounds really racist. It sounds like you're a white supremacist. You're saying that because they're brown, they need extra help because they have different colored skin. They need to be treated differently because you think they aren't able to get along. You know, they aren't able to survive or compete. Unless we treat them with special kid gloves or whatever. I think that's white supremacy in a very clinically, in a very, like literal sense. And that's what nauseates me. Because once you get a sense of that being what it is, like once you realize that actually is how a lot of liberals think, they might not think it out loud, but they have this like, wait, why? Once you realize that that's what you yourself might have used to do yourself as a liberal, it becomes repulsive, and then you can't help but think that anyone who does it is a fucking idiot. Like, when you see somebody do that, it's like, whoa, how dare you think? You see them getting all vitriolic. You see them getting all righteous in calling you words, calling you names for simply not treating minorities as if they are inferior. Okay, so perfect example. I know I sound like Steven Crowder without the lack of without the comedic timing. I know I sound like a very funny version of Steven Crowder, which anybody could do just by breathing. That guy's not very funny. He's very forced. His comedy is very forced. Not a funny guy. But he's pretty good. He was pretty good at pointing out just the very basic hypocrisy of like, hey, like how liberals, how you want voter ID laws to not exist because you think that that's racist because you think this, that minorities don't have access to get an ID. You think that they're not smart enough or something. They don't have access to a DMV. That's what you think. That's why voter ID laws are racist. But then if you actually go to an inner city community and ask them if they have an ID, I don't think you'll find one that'll say, oh yeah, that's racist. Yeah, no, I don't have an ID. How would I get an ID? I'm black. How would you expect me to get an ID? I'm fucking black. They don't have DMV. Yeah, they don't really say that in the ghetto or the projects. They say, yeah, I have an ID. Most of them say, yes, I have an ID. So it's not, yeah. So it's the liberals that have this thought implanted in their head that it's racist to require ID because some cultures are not smart enough. I mean, I'm just trying to finish the thought. So why is it that you think that certain cultures or minority groups wouldn't be able to get an ID? What is so special about white people that makes it so we can get, is it money? Is it access to resources? Because I'm pretty sure we also have to wait in line just as long as everybody else at the DMV. It's not like it's always that close to us either. We could live in the suburbs all in fucking Libertyville, and the DMV might not be open in Libertyville. Might have to drive all the way to Deerfield and wait 2 hours. What's the difference? Why is that any different than being in the projects and driving 20 minutes to a DMV, which there probably wouldn't be that much longer of a drive anywhere on the south side, probably most 30-minute drive. You don't have to go to a DMV to get an ID, by the way. I've done it before in Chicago. There was black people in line with me, in fact. Just go to a fucking little place. I don't know what they're called. They're called like tax office or some shit. I don't know. So it's very racist to think it's racist. How about that? How about you know, how about that thought? Has that thought ever crossed your mind? Liberals, hey, is it racist to think this? Or is it racist to not think this? I don't fucking know. I don't really think it's racist to have a thought, really. That's like not strong enough of a crime for me to spew the term rape. You know, that's a big term. Don't water down the term. But if something was racist, which would be more racist? Thinking that certain minority groups are not able to get an ID, or not, I don't know. I don't know. I can't straw man. I can't answer for them. I never was a liberal that thought it was. I was never that dumb to think that, oh, it's fucking this race. I was never that fucking dumb. But I used to be dumb. I used to be dumber as a liberal. I used to be the type of liberal. This was 15. I'm embarrassed of this. It was at least 15 years ago. I used to think that it was, if you were black, you were shooting yourself in the foot by being Republican, by voting Republican. I thought, why would a black person vote against their own interests? That's what I thought. I thought the Republicans tended to do things that only favored non-minorities. I was that person 16 years ago. Now that I'm really thinking about it, it was even longer than 15 years. It was a fucking long time ago. I was 16, and looking back, okay, so I thought that. So I tweeted it out. Back when you could do that. Back when tweets actually were read by strangers, because there, you know, you could actually get traction just by. Anyway, it's still possible, but it's harder these days. Now, so I tweeted it out. Literally that. I tweeted out, and then somebody replied. Somebody replied. It's like, nah, that's not. That's a very like simple, lazy way of thinking. If you think that simply voting for any Republic, that's just not true. There's plenty of black Republicans that have done their research, that they're not just voting. Like, it's a very naive thought, I'll admit. I was quickly shown that it's more complicated. You know, just because you vote for a certain party, you can't just simply go, oh, you're fucking stupid, man. You're black. You can't do that. You're voting. It's stupid. Okay, I was 16, and I was quickly corrected, and I learned that it was a naive thing to think. And I had Republican friends, and it wasn't a problem that just because they are Republican that I can't be their friend, because I learned that that's a very shallow thing to judge somebody for. I didn't like it. Like, I would argue with I would debate them and be like, I would try to convince them, but I realized, oh, they're actually not that dumb. They're actually not that dumb. All Republicans, turns out, are not that dumb. So to actually try to convince them to not vote that way is going to take a lot of work, because you're going to look dumb, because they're going to be smarter than you. Some of them are going to be smarter than you. And it's not just like that obvious who to vote for all the time. Why the hell did I get on this subject? I don't know. I don't know, man. So anyway, it's race. Yeah, if one was more racist, it would be to say that it's bad. Voter ID, that's what we're talking about. I know that liberals are against it and Republicans tend to be for it. Anybody would be for it if they weren't manipulated to think it was racist. Because why the hell would we have a problem with verifying somebody's identification to vote for somebody? Nobody would have a problem with that. Unless you don't like accurate elections, which, okay, that's another topic. I guess that is another topic of debate, but let's just assume people did want fair elections, and yes, we would, okay, maybe that's why they don't want it, because they want to keep manipulating the elections. Not saying they did last time, I'm just saying we'll find out. There's no evidence, but we'll find evidence. Sometimes it takes a while. I don't know if they stole the election from Trump, but they certainly said they would try to do something to prevent him. So it's very the word steal, so obviously we know that Google manipulated their search results, which has a huge, profound impact on people's ideas and how people form their own opinions is what they read on the internet. So Google did influence the election, and they admitted they said they would try to do it beforehand. So there's evidence that they wanted to influence the election. Anyway, since they like to manipulate elections, that explains probably why liberals or the Democratic Party wants voter ID illegal, so they can manipulate it. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist. That's an insult. I'm the one thinking of the actual theory itself. I'm a conspiracy author. How dare you just call me a theorist? No, I come up with the theory itself. Other people are just theorists. No, I came up with the whole framework. I'm a fucking author of conspiracy. So anyway, no. The people that authored it are the people that orchestrated it. I'm just the one who is disseminating facts that I think are facts. No, I'm disseminating speculation that could be true. So anyway, that's why the DNC doesn't want voter ID. Liberals don't want it because they're told by politicians that it's racist. We don't have to keep running around in circles to know that it's not. We don't have to question if it's right. We know it's not. That doesn't take much brain cells. We already kind of did the math. It's not that hard to get an ID, so it's not racist. That's bullshit. To think it's racist is fucked up. You think black people are too stupid to get a fucking ID? You're racist. You're calling other people white supremacists, but you literally think black people are too dumb to get it. Okay. I don't even think that. I'm pretty right. I thought I was racist. Meanwhile, you're the one saying that shit. Okay, well, I'm going to keep voting the way I'm voting. Because that just doesn't make sense to vote in your direction. So, this has been a boring episode. This has been a very politicalized episode. And again, I don't really like to always talk about politics, man. But when I do, oh man, I really do like to. Sometimes it flares up, and you just go, you know what? I'm becoming old, and as you get older, you accumulate life experience, and that makes you angrier and feel more indignant, like more righteous about what you believe, and more things come your way that reinforce those beliefs. I'm not saying, I thought I was becoming more like old, in a bad way, but actually, I'm fighting to not become more outdated, I think. I think young people are backtracking. So old people a lot of the old people that are considered and like not woke enough, that are considered bad. I don't fucking know, man. It's I think the country, the world, some countries are more mature than others. That we will admit. I'll admit that for you if you don't want to admit it. That some countries are more mature than others. Obviously, some countries are better than others. Just to be like, some countries are shitholes. Like Trump, the fact that a president said that is pretty jarring to hear. But if you see footage of just other countries, like, whoa, that's a shithole country. Like, that's one right there. That's what he was talking about. It was a historically relevant thing to say, because it's like, yeah, there are countries out there that are definitely shit that you don't want to be in, let alone live. So it's nice to have it said that, you know, because it's fucking true. There's countries that are way nicer than others. So anyway, in some countries, more mature. I would rate America's maturity as low as it gets collectively. If it had a collective conscience, America would be the least mature country. You know, I can't think of how we are mature. How are we mature? What is a proof that we are mature as a country? Like, there are some attributes of the country. There's some features of the country itself that show that somebody else was mature, who set it up. Like the dude who decided that Yellowstone should be a park forever. That was a mature thing to do. Like, that guy was mature. But people that go to Yellowstone now aren't fucking doing shit to show maturity. They're leaving their trash everywhere, I presume. That's the average American. The average fucking American just wants to go, yeah, Yellowstone, let me jerk off there and fucking go to the next park where I'm going to leave a bunch of soda cans and other corporate trash with logos on it. Because I'm a fucking consumer who was just born here. Yay! I was born in America. I'm going to look at porn. I could get a lottery ticket on my way home from looking at porn. And when I get home, I'm going to look at porn on my HBO. I got HBO. And I'm going to get a tattoo. Fucking everybody has tattoos. It doesn't look good, man. Everybody has tattoos, man. Do I gotta say that it doesn't look good? You know it looks trashy, right? Do people not know that they're trashy and that people don't like that about them? Because okay. You ever have this feeling about how good a movie is? Because I just watched The Big Lebowski last night, and it's a great movie, cult classic, but there's a lot of people that love this fucking movie. But the people that love this movie, most of them are probably the worst, most disgusting degenerates that I would ever want to. The reason they love this movie so much is because they've also been in that situation where you're driving a shitty car and you drop your joint and it's still burning and it's in your crotch. Whoops, I'm driving. You crash it. You know, it's relatable. I'm also a degenerate who smokes weed. Yeah, there's a lot of those in America. And so that fandom is, ugh. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to get a sense of that fandom, even though I also think it's I enjoyed the movie. I got all the same enjoyment squeezed out of it that all these other people did. But on an individual basis, are these people somebody I want to have anything in common? No, they probably are trash. I'm saying on average, the average person that likes The Big Lebowski is probably somebody that just is just a fucking scumbag. Because the dude in the movie was supposedly like a bum, but he didn't look like one. He was cool. He had a cool personality. The people that think they're just like him are disgusting in real life. I don't know. That's how I look at America. I look at America as like a great movie, great idea, great screenplay. The person who wrote this fucking movie, great. Jewish mind, the Einstein of movies, of screenwriters. You know? So the guy that started the country, yeah, those were smart, mature motherfuckers. But the average person are just consumers in the jungle of highway systems connected to these oases. We're just in a bunch of oases connected by asphalt, and the rest is just plains and prairie and shit. You don't want nothing to do. Nobody likes cornfields. But that's what most of America is. Most of America is corn. Do you want anything to do with that? No, because we live in oases connected with asphalt called cities. So I'm looking a little different because normally I'm a little bit further back. This episode I'm using a new lens, so I'm a little bit more zoomed in. I'm using a zoom lens. It's a very nice 35. I only was using one lens to do this podcast. Since I started the whole I've only been using one lens, 24 millimeters, so it's a little bit wide. A little bit wide. So I want it a little tighter, so I got a 24 millimeter all the way up to 70 millimeter, and it's a fantastic lens. Right now it's at like 35, around 30 to somewhere around there, 32 millimeters of focal length, so it's a little zoomed, and it's a very overpriced for what I'm using it for. It's but this is what you could do when you have the freedom and the resource. You could do that. You could put too much money into something and it'll work out if it's within your budget. It was not in my, I set my own budget, so I just decided, I really want that lens. I only have the 24 millimeter prime lens, and that's great. It's a beautiful lens, but I don't like that it's wide. So I was like, let's just buy it, just deal with the consequences later of, I used to be good at that. I used to be so good at just spending money and not caring about not having money anymore. That's how I did it. That's how I looked at it with this lens. I was like, you could afford it. Yeah, it's an absurd thing to buy. For what you're going to use it for, it's absurd. But you're going to live. You're probably not going to have to, scrounge if you buy this. Yes, it's ridiculous. It's a little bit ridiculous to buy this. But here I am. It's a beautiful product. It's a tank of, it's longer. Okay. Same camera. Okay. Also got some new audio equipment. Now I'm really just talking about real life shit, which I guess we already talked about shit that matters to the world. Now we're talking about shit that only matters to me. And we got new audio equipment. And so now my voice is going through a outboard standalone mic preamp. It's just a single piece of equipment that all it does is provide preamp. It's a preamp for one mic, but it takes up a lot of space. It's a single unit just for one microphone to sound really good. It has really big transformers in it, so my voice is going through these big transformers through a circuit board, that's what you want. You want a big circuit with spread out components, whatever. And then I got a compressor. I got a physical, it's called a distressor. Anyway, we're just talking gear, so I'm still going into I'm still using the same converter, the same digital to analog to digital converter. I'm just not using the preamp that came on, the onboard preamp. I'm using a external preamp, bypassing the onboard preamp on the little audio interface. And so it's pretty cool. It's very nerdy, man, but I had to upgrade, not for the podcast, but this is for music, man. I'm using this audio equipment for music mostly. It's what I'm needing it for, man. Come on, man. Neve. I just found out that Rupert Neve, the guy that invented the first recording console that became legendary and the best recording console to this day, the dude that invented that lived just 20 minutes, about half an hour to an hour from where I live. He lived in Wimberley, Texas. He died just a couple years ago, and he is missed because up until his mid-90s, he was working and designing circuitry. So I bought a DI box that he designed. It has his name on it. It's pretty much the best external standalone DI box that you could get. That's whatever. It's a really good DI box. Who cares, man? I'm into it, but like, this is just like not, there's a place and there's a time, and this is not the time to talk about technical shit, but it is. So I also got this thing coming. I got another preamp coming that is a standalone external piece of gear. It comes in a box. It's technically made to be portable. So it comes in this metal box. The power supply is inside the same unit. So there's this box with a handle on it that you plug into the wall, and you just plug in your microphone in there. And it was made by a company called BAE, and it was a pretty expensive piece of gear, but I got a customized one with completely changed internal parts from Japan. Somebody in Japan completely gutted, like they took out the stuff that was in it, which was already good. It was already a high quality piece of gear, and they put in old vintage Neve transformers and an amp card from a Neve console, from a legit vintage Neve console. So that preamp will sound as close as possible within that I could afford to spend to a 70s console. So it'll sound, smooth and analog, like has a very organic musical sound to it, and that costs a lot of money too, but not enough that I'm gonna be like, because I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it to record music, vocals, guitar, bass. Because I got the DI, which is also a Neve product, but way later. It's the last product he ever made. And then I'm using one from the 70s, whatever. It's like a Frankenstein monster. They took the guts from a Neve module, 1073 Neve console, or module from a console. They come in modules. An EQ, it's a pre and an EQ. And those modules, if they still make them, but the 70s one had different components with different steel. And that affects the sound, man. So if you really want the king of if you want the best of the best preamp, vintage, it's going to cost $12,000. $10,000 to $12,000 is what they're currently going for. Just one module, one preamp for one channel, one mono channel preamp EQ. $10,000. It's not that bad, considering it's the most legendary thing you can get, and there's only so many of them on the planet. They don't make them vintage. There's only so many of them on the planet. So anyway, but you can still get them. They still exist. You can still get them fixed by people that know how to fix them. But anyway, that is what I bought the Frankenstein version of. I bought just the essential components within that module for just the preamp part of it, not the EQ, just the preamp, so we could get that warm vintage Neve sound. in 2024 without a whole console. So that's what I've been into. It's a very, it's satisfying once you learn it. I don't know. It's not satisfying. You feel, actually, no, I'm satisfied with the new sounds that I got, right? It sounds silky. Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it has a more organic, silky sound to it that is pleasant to the ears. It's better, especially when you start layering tracks. That's when you could really hear the sound of the outboard gear. And so I'm a nerd into the audio nerd, and we didn't even talk about finance that much, but we don't have to because we're already an hour in, and finance, more money, more problems. I don't like, we talked about it, but finance is also still a big thing in my life, and so we'll just end on this. We'll just say really quickly here that this is a long weekend for me because it's Memorial Day weekend, and I used to think that long weekends weren't long enough. Now they're a fucking eternity because the market's closed, man. I can't buy anything. The crypto market's open. Who gives a shit? It's not a real market. That's just bullshit. The stock market has been closed for 2 days, 3 days almost, and that's an eternity, y'all. That feels like an eternity. I'm just counting down the hours for when I could wake up at 7:30 a.m. and take my pill that makes everything fun, that has to do with numbers. It fucking just when the market opens, my mood just improves. I don't even need to be trading. Just the market being open just makes me feel more alive. During the weekend, everything's frozen, man. Nothing. I'm just waiting for the shit to settle, man. How do you even do anything on the weekend that involves a lot of money? Like, what if I have to take a shitload of money out of the stock market? I can't do that. It's the weekend. You got to rely on a bank, which even those aren't even open in the weekend. You got to just hope that they have enough cash in your ATM. You just got to hope that your credit card works, I guess, because the stock market's closed during the weekend. I am the polar opposite of how I was as a kid. As a kid, I hated the weekdays. I didn't want to wake up at 8 a.m. Now I love 8 a.m. because that's only 30 minutes before the stock market opens. 8 a.m. to 8:30? Yeah, it's a slow, it's a crawl. It's like, okay, 8:15, gotta wait a whole nother 15. It's still the weekend. Don't get too excited. Still got a whole 15 minutes to go here, buddy. Better relax your jets there. Better do something else to take your mind off the fact that the stock market still has a long way to go. And then finally, 8:20 is like, okay, just another 10 minutes to go. Still going to be still a long 10 minutes. 8:25 is when you could sort of start to get excited. 8:25. It's like, okay, I think we're getting there. Like the weekend is finally almost over. It's almost time to have fun. Just 5 more minutes, It's a long time still. Just make some tea maybe. Go outside, look at the sun for a couple of seconds, and then before you know it, the stock market opens. Finally. And you could just finally just relax. It's like, oh, fucking thank God. Something I could do. Finally, a distraction. That's all the stock market is. It's a distraction from real life, man. It's a distraction from not having a real life, too. That's what makes the weekend so long, so I don't have anything else to do on the weekends. If I had something else to do, they would fly the fuck by. But there's nothing I even want to do on the weekend, so there's nothing that I do. I just sit there and try to record music, and I realize I suck at it, and that creates frustration. So anyway, we still got a long way to go for the stock market. It might as well be 4 days from now, even though it's just tomorrow. But I've been just the excruciating feeling of knowing that the weekend is not even close to over. Like, that's how I was yesterday. It was Sunday yesterday, and I was like, well, normally this is when I'm kind of looking forward to the stock market being open, but since there's a fucking fake holiday, it feels like there's a whole week. Like the stock market the week goes by because you don't have to wait. All you have to do is go to sleep. Hopefully you could go to sleep, because sometimes you're too excited to go to sleep, because just knowing that the next morning is when it opens is enough to make it hard to go to sleep. So the week flies by. But if I have a long weekend, I have to go through all these mental exercises and techniques to trick myself into thinking that everything's going to be okay. Just get through this rough. It's just so long. When you have nothing going on, 3 days of that, oof. I don't know how people do it. Because when am I going to get bored of the stock market? Once you have enough money, it's pretty fun. I'm sure I'll get bored of it, but something will have to replace it. And it goes great with being medicated. When I'm not medicated for ADHD or whatever, I'm just going to lie in bed all day. Can't even do this. So if I get bored of the stock market, I don't even know if that'll ever happen, but if it does, it'll have to be something that is fulfilling that I could do. Because music, comedy, it's a fucking drag. I love the idea of doing those things, but lifting weights, lifting a guitar onto your lap and doing this a bunch of times, it's fun once you get going. But then you become a perfectionist. It's like, oh, it's not perfect enough. I got to play perfectly in time. Eventually I get good enough. It's like, okay, I finished that part. Now I just have another 12 parts to go. It's like, very tedious. Creating music is extremely tedious, man. The drums is the most tedious part of recording a record. That's why whenever a drummer dies, that's the end of the band. Because that's the hardest thing to replace. Without a rhythm section, there's no music. There's no record. So if you could master the rhythm section and produce a hip-hop beat, or just be good at percussion and create drums, the rest is pretty easy. The rest is just sing-songy shit that is going to sound good just because it's over such a good beat. Producing a record is about the end result sound, the feeling that it gives you as you hear it, the instant it starts going into your ears. You gotta be enjoying it. It can't just be enjoyable for like, okay, this one part during the chorus, oh man, wait till that. No, the whole song has to have a beat, has to have a backbone that already is amazing. Then whatever's on top of it will look really good. But it's not. It's the shit around. It's the foundation that makes the song good. You could be a mediocre singer singing on top of an amazing beat, and you'll be a hit. You'll look like a fucking great artist. People will be like, "Oh, you're a fucking great artist." It's like, no, that was not me. I did not make that beat. Singing is just this. Wanna be started something, got to be started something. That's literally all he was doing. Wanna be started something, got to be started something. What made that song huge was the production, was the rhythm, was the beat. You can't do that as a human. It takes electronics. That's what producers do that makes them genius. Crunching it down, compressing it down, making it sound like a record, making it flow, making it sound like a piece of fucking music. It's either there or it isn't. You hear it instantaneously if it's a hit song. That's what makes it a hit song. Most of the time is the beat. That's why all hit songs sound the same, because they all figured out that it has to do with the beat. So if you see somebody doing what looks like really impressive guitar work on top of that, or like impressive singing or rapping, all they're doing is like, "Oh man, in the club, somebody fucking, and I took a little Bacardi."
Drinking lean and I'm putting pussy in my face. Yeah. Meet the boy at the club, then a pussy in my face. Drinking lean in the Sunday, look at me.
That's all they're doing in the booth. But the final song that you're hearing, it sounds fucking amazing because Lil Xan had nothing to do with that part. Lil Xan was just going like, to the fucking blue, yeah. Yeah, he's just acting like a fucking idiot. It's the producer that made the song. Good. Somebody way more experienced, somebody with way more talent. Lil Xan, I don't know if he has talent or not because I've never seen anything. You know, he just seems like an average individual who happens to be addicted to drugs. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he's talented, but you wouldn't know it just by looking at him. All right, well, thank you. This has been episode 98 of the Tim Facial Bloom Show. Yep.